Good morning, boys and girls. It's Grace here this morning. I hope you're all well and good. This morning we're going to learn that God knows everything. And God made King Solomon very, very wise, and people came from all over to learn from Solomon because they knew that God was with him. And Solomon wrote down many wise sayings, and they're called Proverbs. Solomon wrote that wisdom comes from God. He said, "Trust in the Lord. Do not try to do things your own way." And when people listen to God's wisdom, they make good choices. And when people make sad choices, God corrects them like a loving father. Solomon looked at the world around him, and he wrote that life works best when people do what God tells them to do and listen to God's words. He said, in the end, love God and obey him. And so, boys and girls, God made Solomon very, very wise. He knew lots of things because God told him. And Solomon wrote down the wisdom, that wisdom comes from a loving God. And Jesus always did what was wise and good. Ultimately, Jesus came to die for your sin and my sin so that we could be friends with God again. And we could walk with him. And so, boys and girls, I hope that this story has blessed your heart this morning. And yeah, take care. Bye. Lots of love.
When Solomon became king, he asked God for help to lead the Israelites. God gave King Solomon wisdom to lead his people. People came from far away to hear Solomon's wise words. The Bible teaches that there are two ways to live: a wrong way, doing what is foolish and evil, and a right way, doing what is wise and good.
Solomon wrote thousands of wise sayings called Proverbs. He also wrote more than 1,000 songs. In the book of Proverbs, Solomon said to love and worship God. He told people how to make wise decisions. If people listened to God's words and did what God told them to do, God would bless them and protect them. If they did not listen to God's words and obey them, they would make bad decisions and face consequences for their sins. They would not be happy, healthy, or get along well with others.
Trust in the Lord with all your heart, Solomon wrote in Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5. He also wrote other wise sayings like, "A gentle answer turns away anger, but a harsh word stirs up wrath." And even a young man is known by his actions, by whether his behavior is pure and upright. Some people do not always listen to God's words. Solomon wrote, "Fools hate wisdom and instruction." He also wrote, "A fool does not want to learn, but only wants to say what he thinks. And a fool does whatever he thinks is right, but a wise person listens to advice."
Solomon wrote another book in the Bible called Ecclesiastes. The book of Ecclesiastes has wisdom for people too. Solomon wrote about money and work and how to live a good life. Many people seek after these things, but these things do not truly satisfy. The most important thing, Solomon said, is to love and obey God.
Solomon taught that there is a time for everything, a time to give birth and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance. Solomon also wrote a poem about love. This poem is called Song of Songs. Solomon wrote this poem to celebrate God's wise plan for love and marriage.
Wisdom in the Bible shows us how to be like Jesus in how we live, how we speak, and how we think. But wisdom cannot save us. Only Jesus, who perfectly followed God's wise plan, can rescue us from sin.
This week, we'd like to challenge you to learn a memory verse to do with wisdom that we've been thinking about last week and this week. So for you that are older, then you can try and learn this version. If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask God, who gives generously to all without reproach, and it will be given to him. And for those of you who are a bit younger, maybe you could try this shorter version. I'd love to hear if you manage to do that.